This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Let's talk Monday Night Raw as it took place last night, right off of Bad Blood. Some good wrestling matches, I thought. I thought overall it was a show that didn't overly impress, but delivered on the matches that were advertised, particularly Sami Zayn and Gunther. We even saw an interaction backstage with Gunther and Braun Breaker. We had a tease of Seth Rollins and CM Punk again. But before we get to that, I want to address something. I know that many of you think I have forgotten or not even mentioned the fact that Kevin Owens turned on Cody Rhodes. All right, let me just say this. The reason I haven't mentioned it, number one, I just simply forgot. Not that I didn't know. Secondly, even though that happened, this means nothing in the grand scheme of things. I hate to say it, for Kevin Owens, who never seems to be in the right place at the right time for a title change. He has now time to step aside again because Gunther and Cody Rhodes have their match coming up at Crown Jewel for the beloved and very, very respected, exalted championship for Crown Jewel. And that means Kevin Owens, sure, he could compete against Cody Rhodes on SmackDown, and you could have a title change on SmackDown. But more than likely, this is just another one of Kevin Owens' always bridesmaid, never the bride type of deals. Meaning he's going to eventually face Cody for the belt again, even though he lost the first time around. But he'll lose again. The story is The Rock. So do whatever you want with Kevin Owens. I actually thought, and I said this, you guys can go back and listen, that out of the trio of that alliance that you knew somebody was going to implode with, of Kevin and Randy and Cody, that Kevin Owens was the last and least interesting one to turn heel, because we've been down the road of Kevin Owens facing Cody Rhodes before. And recently, if you remember, he basically had to force the title shot down Kevin Owens' throat, which was a stupid creative decision. It just made no sense. But the fact that he turns heel, I guess, gives him another shot sometime soon. But that doesn't interest fans in the way that it should, because we know the outcome is no chance in hell that Kevin Owens wins. It'll be a fun match. Sure, it brings Kevin Owens back heel, but the one we want to see really turn is Randy, and maybe they're saving that for a bigger time and place, a bigger stage. That's probably what they're doing here, because Kevin Owens is the least interesting to turn heel. He just is. No disrespect to Kevin, but it is what it is, and I think we'll get a nice little mini program, side program out of Kevin Owens there. He's not joining the bloodline. I've heard a few people suggest that. Not a chance. Kevin Owens is just going to go back to his roots, and we're going to see the Kevin Owens of old, and I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that, and to be honest, I think he is, in a lot of ways, a better heel. But he does play both nicely. He doesn't feel like a Charlotte Flair when, she's a babyface. Never quite feels right. Kevin Owens is a heel. As I think about it, he is as close to as good as a babyface as he is a heel. And that's why he's been a babyface for so long. It happened after the run of bringing Stone Cold out of retirement at WrestleMania 38, right? Was it 38? And now he's back into that heel role again, and 'tis the cycle of wrestling characters typically. So I wanted to bring that up because I know that many of you have said, I can't believe you didn't comment on it. I can't believe you didn't say anything. And it's simply for the fact that there's so much going on. I just forgot. And watching it, knowing it's inconsequential for the main storyline is also what kind of shielded it from my memory when I'm recording here. So, because the real story, as I said, is The Rock. And Cody Rhodes did show up on Raw. And I'll give it a pass only because he does have a match upcoming with Gunther in 4 weeks, or really 3.5 as I record this. So I'll give that a pass, as I'm a bit of a Nazi when it comes to the adhering to brand rules and all that. But since he has an upcoming match, I'm okay with it. But Gunther and Sami Zayn had a stellar match, PLE quality match, as you would expect. Did anybody expect anything less from these two? No. The answer is no, because these two are just a joy to watch. Gunther continues to improve in all aspects. This, I think, though, does cement Sami Zayn back to the mid-card. The upper mid-card, if anything. I think that's where he's going to live. Maybe he'll end up trying to compete for the Intercontinental title, even though Jey is his friend, and there'll be a little tension there. What happens? I mean, perhaps you could think about turning Sami Zayn heel. Maybe, now that Kevin Owens is heel, there's a little bit of something there. Maybe you could, given that they're on opposite brands. Who knows? But that likely won't happen, if it does at all, until after Sami Zayn reunites with the Bloodline, and he maybe is the final piece before the Survivor Series, the anticipated Survivor Series match with Bloodline versus Bloodline. But welcome to the show, everybody. This is the WWE podcast. We're here nearly every day, if not with new shows, with retro shows and shows that you haven't heard in years in some cases. And I bring those out. And a couple weeks ago, I released even my very first mailbag show I did 4 years ago. That's how long I've been doing the mailbag. The very first one I did, I believe it was November of 2020. So that's how long ago the mailbag started. I released that a couple of weeks ago. Ad-free on Patreon, by the way. And we continue to pump out retro shows, but new content as well. And we'll have an NXT review show for you tomorrow with Jey, who is doing the NXT reviews now. And we have then the mailbag coming on Friday. So don't miss it. We got a lot coming up. And a new After Dark show is coming for those who are on Patreon this week as well. Okay, so head on over to patreon.com/WWE podcast if you want all the exclusive ad-free content and that extra show of After Dark. What is After Dark, you ask? An adult version of the show. I'll just leave it at that. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of Monday Night Raw here. And we'll start right at the top of the show. And the show had Samantha Irvin introducing Sexy Red, who was standing in the ring. Good God. And Red played to the crowd. She's also scheduled to appear on the NXT show on Tuesday. I have to say, and no one cares. I don't care. I don't even know who the hell Sexy Red is. I don't think there's not much canvas left that she doesn't have ink on her body. I'll tell you that. My God, the amount of tattoos she has makes Rhea Ripley look like she's a Christian schoolgirl. But with Sexy Red, I don't care. I know that they're doing this because they're trying to get more eyeballs and crossover audience and blah, 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 blah. But this, and if you haven't seen it yet either, it's making its rounds on the internet. Triple H posted a picture with Sexy Red, and it's horrible. I mean, not horrible in the way that it's grotesque or just wrong. It just feels icky. Like Sexy Red she has no affiliation with pro wrestling. This does nothing for me, but look at Triple H as kind of a corporate stooge who's trying to, toe the company line and work with celebrities that have nothing to do with wrestling. That I don't know. I'm not a fan of Sexy Red, if you could tell, on a lot of levels. Her music doesn't do it for me. Don't care. Her look, and this is gonna anger some people. She's kind of got a trashy look. She just does. And I love, how could you say that? And here comes the racist claims. Look, I don't care about skin color. It's just a trashy look to me. And in the name of Sexy Red, that's all you need to know. All right. So, and look, she's seemingly very successful in her music. Otherwise, WWE wouldn't bring her on. So good for her. This is just my personal opinion. All right. Not my thing. Her music ain't my thing. Her look isn't my thing. WWE pairing this co-op here doesn't do anything for me. And I'll just leave it at that. it was a bad look, and a lot of people I think felt the same way. If you look at the comments for this photo on X and other places, so come on, let's go with the racist claims. Who cares? It's nothing to do with that, but think whatever the hell you want. CM Punk comes out and he's limping and he has a wrap on his right elbow and bandages on his forehead and his cheek, and he says that it's good not to be dead in St. Louis on a Monday night, and said he'd been through enough this weekend, and if they were going to set him on fire, this was the time. He's in no condition to walk to the ring, so he'd be speaking from the stage. Yet he mustered all this energy to, after the match last night, go to his hotel room, pack his bags, catch a flight from Atlanta to St. Louis, go through all the security, get his, rent his car, go to his hotel room, walk down from his hotel room, get to the arena, walk through the arena, and he just ran out of gas. Presumably in between, maybe even stopping for food, and But boy, the tank ran to E the second he went out, and he's like, "Oh, I just can't get to that ring. I can't do it." So again, guys, not a complaint. Just I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute, you traveled hundreds of miles. And now you just can't walk 50 feet to the ring? Whatever. It's symbolic. I know it was part of his promo. And you know what? I think it was effective to a degree. And he keeps hinting, without directly saying it, about retirement. And he just said he doesn't know what the future holds for him. He said he recalled saying he had no Hell in a Cell matches left in him, and he was right. Except he won and participated in one, but sure. Punk said he's more banged up than he's ever been in his entire life. I actually believe that. That's very possible. He said as much as he loves the fans, he just doesn't know, and thanked his ride or die fans. He said there's never been in a second of his career he didn't think he could do it without the fans. And he thanked his peers and feels privileged and kissing the ass of basically everyone backstage. And then he wanted to thank the people that don't like him at all, and that there's a thin line between love and hate, and he's turned hate into cash. Actually, there's not a thin line. There's like a whole ocean between love and hate. I don't know where that analogy comes from. I mean, I guess you could say both are very strong emotions. Both emotions lead people to do stupid things. I guess that's where the similarities end, because the emotions are diametrically opposed. Other than them being the exact opposites, sure, there's a thin line. I'm not getting on Punk for this, just the phrase itself that you hear a lot. So anyway, he said he's turned the hate into cash. So he thanks them, and he's basically saying, yeah, hate me all you want, but I'm making money off your hate. Well, fine. That's a fun line. Punk looked into the camera and says he doesn't know why they keep doubting him, but he hopes they keep doing that. And he said he's going to go home because he hasn't seen his wife in 5 weeks, and that he'd see the fans soon. He wanted to say that, but he wasn't sure. So a lot of doubt, a lot of I'm hurt, I'm old kind of thing. Like, man, I don't know how long I can keep doing this. And I'm sure legitimately he was thinking that. And, it does make you wonder when Punk is retiring. Obviously, it's not right now. Obviously, it's not this year. It probably is in a year or two, is my guess. When he's done with this contract with WWE, that's probably it, I would think, but who knows? Only Phil Brooks and WWE know. But I had an idea that this is kind of be the pause for Punk, because there's nowhere for him to go between now and Crown Jewel anyway. I mean, after the Hell in a Cell, at his age, he's going to need recovery, legitimately, not storyline, but real recovery, to recharge his batteries. He probably does want to actually spend time with his wife and his dog, and that's all fine and well. So, sure, that makes actually perfect sense that he would go back and do these things. And also because storyline-wise, what's he going to do? The answer, he can't challenge Gunther like he tried to the last time he had a match with Drew, with the Texas Bull Rope match, I think it was. And it was a strap match. I keep saying Texas Bull Rope. It was the strap match. He's tried to say that I'm coming after Gunther, and that's when Drew attacked him again, and that led to the Hell in a Cell match. So he can't go after Gunther because Gunther's tied up now with Cody Rhodes for Crown Jewel. He can't go to Seth Rollins yet, even though we got a big tease of that after this segment here, because Punk, or rather Seth Rollins, is going to work with Bronson Reed for the next month. So Punk has nowhere to go. So the best thing is give him 5 weeks off. Have him come back to Monday Night Raw after Crown Jewel leading into Survivor Series. Who does he work with then? Maybe it is Gunther. It probably is. I would think Gunther and Punk is a main event for Survivor Series for the world title. And that's maybe where Seth Rollins screws Punk, and then they lead into their WrestleMania match after November, get in December, and away you go. So that's my thought on that, and a perfect time for Punk to take time off. And they had some, the stare down as they have been, and it's been almost a year now since Punk's return, almost. And having him and Seth still not have a match is actually quite extraordinary. After everything that transpired in Chicago at that War Games match, after the match, and the big massive reaction for Punk's return a year ago nearly, all the stuff that happened with Seth during that, it seemed like he was legitimately angry. People are talking about it. It got the internet ablaze. And a year later, we still haven't got the match. Now, granted, Punk was injured for many months, and that took a lot of the steam out of it, and it derailed their WrestleMania match. So it's just amazing. If you had said, we'd be here, and a year later, if you had told me, yeah, we still haven't got to that match, I would have been like, what are you talking about? It's just crazy the way life works. So moving on. Seth Rollins, as I said, he came out. Nothing really said. He did shove Punk a little bit on the shoulder as he head to the ring. And he said, Rollins, that is, said things have been crazy and mentioned things that happened at the event last night with Bad Blood. And he mentioned that Cody got punched in the mouth by Kevin Owens. And Rollins said he wasn't supposed to talk about that, so he'd get things back on track. Sure, whatever. Rollins then went through his catchphrases, and he said he's back to destroy Bronson Reed. And he mentioned that Reed was not at Raw. And he said he knew Reed was somewhere watching. And Rollins looked into the cameras and told Reed that he tried to end his career a few months ago just to make a name for himself. And he said after 6 tsunamis, he does know his name. And if Reed wants to be famous, he'll give him the 15 minutes and challenge him to a match anytime, any place. That was it. Which I would think is Crown Jewel, but who the hell knows? It could be easily a Monday Night Raw match. I mean, they're doing it. No championship is safe anymore when it comes to just being on PLEs. They're certainly not going to be shy about giving away Rollins and Bronson Reed on a Raw. Which again, I'm fine. I don't have an issue with that. But I'm also fine if they want to put it on the Crown Jewel event. I think it's worthy of that. If you're trying to elevate Bronson Reed to get him into the eyeballs of more fans, then it makes sense to put him in front of more fans. And he's made a hell of an impact over the last 2 months with his attack on Rollins and then his really unexpectedly fun program with Braun Strowman. The Braun thing messes me up, like Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman. I keep mixing it up, as I'm sure many of you guys are. All right. Jey Uso and Xavier Woods for the Intercontinental title was the very first match of the night. And really fun match, as you would imagine, but it was pretty quick, as Jey Uso beat Xavier Woods in 6.5 minutes. And he beat him clean. Woods jumped up from the ropes, caught by a super kick, splash, victory. Xavier went down without a whimper, essentially. It wasn't a squash, but it was a more decisive victory than you'd imagine. And then you knew that Xavier wasn't going to win. It was about what happens next. So after the match, Jey joined Kofi in the ring to help Woods get to his feet. And then Woods blew off Jey's handshake. And Braun Breaker came out of nowhere and speared Jey. And Woods tried to stop Kingston from helping him, but Kingston broke free, went to the ring. Breaker hit Kingston with a spear. Woods got speared on the outside. And all of you that thought Braun Breaker. See, how many B's are there here? We got Braun, and Bronson. Yikes. Somebody's got to change it, or somebody's got to either shorten or extend their name. You can't have, there's too many. So, I mean, just imagine these three in a triple threat, and you're the announcer. No thanks. All right. But my point is, many of you thought or were concerned that it was going to be a Braun Breaker babyface turn after he was very cordial with Jey Uso winning the Intercontinental title a couple of weeks ago, and that's not the case. As I had kind of warned you, I think it's probably a setup for Bronson, or rather, see, I just did it again, for Braun Breaker to just double down on his intensity, on his violence, and that's exactly what happened here, spearing everybody in sight, and he is the Braun Breaker that we all knew to begin with. And I think that's a good thing. Because what are you going to do? You're going to turn Breaker into a soft baby face? No. Suddenly he cares about the fans? No. You know? So this adds, beyond the Braun Breaker double turn, kind of, or we have the second part of this, which is, of course, Xavier Woods' continued frustration. That's building and building and building, which we'll have a blow off in about a month as we kind of all look at that date, whatever it is that we circle on the calendar, where we're going to have Xavier Woods' turn. I mean, that's all. This is a big setup for that moment, and it's coming. All right. We have, of course, backstage, Jackie Redmond caught up with Braun Breaker and said everyone was confused because he showed Jey a respect a week ago, and Redmond asked Breaker what's going on, and Breaker looked at her and walked away. And so, yeah, I mean, either they thought about it and decided, let's turn it back heel, or this was a setup. I think it was probably a setup. I just do. All right, so let's go. We have another. We have Pete Dunne and Pete Dunne Sheamus video package that set up their Donnybrook match, and let's see. The next match was, in fact, the Donnybrook match of Sheamus and Pete Dunne. And before that, though, R-Truth took issue with The Miz attacking him on purpose, and Truth didn't attack The Miz, but he was kind of taken back by the fact that Miz attacked him on purpose, and told Miz, "Hey, I'm not in the Judgment Day anymore." So a little bit of a kind of mini side program going on here. Truth doesn't nearly have the momentum he did prior to the WrestleMania run, prior to all that, when he was in the Judgment Day and all the hilarious segments he was doing of photoshopping himself into the Judgment Day, and just that was all just comedic gold. R-Truth has definitely cooled off, so we'll see how long his run lasts here. But this match with Sheamus and Pete Dunne was brutal. Both men get a hell of a lot of credit here. Crazy bumps. The whiskey barrel white noise bump off the barrels onto the table got a holy S chant, which, like I've said, and many others have as well, I can't wait until Netflix so we can stop screwing with the audio, because every time I hear the audio cut out, as many of you do, you're thinking, oh crap, what happened to my signal? What happened to my Wi-Fi? And it sounds exactly like something's wrong with your Wi-Fi. So I just can't wait. I know they have to do it, but it's just like, oh my God, it's obnoxious. But Sheamus got Dunne back inside the ring, and the joint manipulation stuff is just, as I've said, it's boring. No one cares about the joint manipulation except the announcers who are trying to put it over, like, fingers are snapping. And Sheamus got put into what was not handcuffs, but zip ties. Sheamus' hands were behind his back, and Sheamus ended up getting still a knee to Pete Dunne and hit him with a brogue kick, got the victory. So Tessitore called it a legendary moment for Sheamus. I don't know about that. Really? A legendary moment, huh? Not winning the WWE Championship for Sheamus, not winning the Royal Rumble for Sheamus. No, it's this moment. Beating a former teammate who was called Butch. That's a true legendary moment, Joe. And am I getting on him? Kind of. I know his job is to put talent over, but, you can only go so far before it's eye-rolling. This was an eye-rolling comment. So, relax, Joe. This was not a legendary moment. If you know anything about Sheamus' career, This will not even be remembered by most people when his career's said and done. If it's so legendary, you don't forget legendary moments. Legendary moments live in infamy. They're rare, and they're remembered by most people who think of a name and go, oh, they're associated with that moment. Yeah, I don't think Sheamus, upon his Hall of Fame induction ceremony, is going to have even this, even in the most hardcore of fans' minds, this match. So, legendary moment. I mean, not even close. So, whatever. I got to give Joe a little bit of crap for that. Because, the over-exaggeration is done, quite a bit. Okay. So then we got Cody Rhodes being interviewed by Kathy Kelly backstage, and Cody has bandages on the bridge of his nose. He said he couldn't speculate on what happened at Bad Blood, and said he wasn't sure you'd hear. He said he was sure you'd hear more about it on SmackDown, and he said he was just there to find out what it takes to be the first Crown Jewel champion. Really? Is that why you're there, Cody? So you're there to just find out what it takes? What are you learning by appearing at Raw? Are you suddenly absorbing all of this? Are you endowed with all this knowledge about, oh, that's what it takes? Well, hell, I didn't know. What are you learning? You did nothing while you were there. Did you cast a spell? Or did you acquire mind reading skills? I don't know. I mean, that's such a weak response. He was there to find out what it takes to be Crown Jewel champion. Yet he's the WWE Undisputed Champion. He just beat the most dominant champion in our lifetimes. And he's there to figure out how to win a championship that no one cares about and was just invented 5 seconds ago. Got it. And also, if you're worrying about, well, he's trying to scout his opponent. He's had extensive work with Gunther. He can also do what we do, and I don't know, turn on his phone and just take a look at any of the footage from Gunther. He worked with him at the end of the Rumble a couple of years ago. He can see what we all see. I don't know. I'm getting on Cody because I especially hate his babyface character. Like, I'm seething, I'm dripping with contempt for his character. But he walked away and he crossed paths with Sami Zayn, who told him that he plans to be the person who he will face at Crown Jewel. LOL. Zayn tried to bring up what happened with Kevin Owens, and Cody cut him off and said they didn't have to talk about that. And Cody said he hopes he faces Zayn and wishes him luck. Okay. We then had footage from earlier in the day of Raquel Rodriguez driving a black SUV into the arena parking garage and opened the rear door, and Dom and Liv exited the vehicle, which is funny. Jackie Redmond approached Liv Morgan and asked for her comment on Rhea Ripley. Morgan said Ripley may have technically beat her by DQ, but she still has her title and Dom. Redmond tried to ask Rodriguez if she's a member of the Judgment Day. Morgan cut her off. The trio, I guess, we're not going to answer that yet, but they decided to leave. So the broadcast team then did a fan sign spotlight, and they focused on a just married couple. So that's kind of cool. Usually those fan signs they do during the non-televised portion of the show. When they're on commercial break, they do those things for the people just in attendance. So it's interesting that they're doing it for live television. Risky. Risky. So Raw General Manager Adam Pearce was backstage talking with NXT GM Ava when Ethan Page showed up, and Page said CM Punk cost him the NXT Championship, which if you guys watch NXT or hear our reviews, CM Punk did get hands-on with Ethan Page. Anyway, he was when he was special referee for last week's match, but Pierce said he didn't appoint Punk as the special ref. Ava said she was so flattered that Page came all the way to St. Louis just to confront her, and Ava said it was so sweet, and she'd like to hear him yap like he does every week, but she was off the clock. Page asked what she was doing there. All right. Then we get more of Sexy Red, and again, she comes in and hugs Ava and Pierce cleared his throat and offered Red a handshake, and Red shook his hand and asked how he was doing. Page said he'd done better and walked away. Yeah. No, sorry. Go away. Leave. Please. There are some celebrities, I have to say, that do kind of fit oddly in pro wrestling. Oddly, Bob Barker. Remember when there was that whole era of it was cool as a celebrity to host Monday Night Raw? And there were some really bad ones. Bob Barker. Remember we all know him from Price is Right, but he actually did a pretty good job. He fit in, oddly enough, at 85 years old, hosting Monday Night Raw. It just worked. I thought it was going to be a disaster. It wasn't. All right. Remember Snooki from Jersey Shore? She had a WrestleMania match. Remember that? Oh, my God. All right. So the next match here of Sonya Deville's, Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, and Alba Fire and Isla Dawn took on Natalya, Lyra Valkyria, Caden Carter, Katana Chance, and Zelina Vega in a 10-woman tag team match, a Teddy Long special. This ended in 7 minutes with Natalya, Lyra, Caden, Katana, and Zelina beating the rest of the women. And the finish was Vega put Deville in a sleeper. Deville backed her into the corner while trying to break the move, and Valkyria made a blind tag. Deville was able to fling Vega to the mat, but then Valkyria hit Deville with a leg drop from the top rope and pinned her. So, Valkyria is building a little momentum here. If you care about such things, keep an eye on it. I'm not putting too much stock into a 10-woman tag team match, but it is something for the stars of tomorrow. All right. We then have a video package on the build to Gunther versus Zayn. And we got the match here. So it was only 4 wrestling matches on Monday Night Raw. Pretty crazy. But yeah, I have to say, I don't mind it. I don't need every show being insanely wrestling heavy. You can have these shows here, especially when the talent need a damn break, and they don't need to kill their bodies just 2 days after they literally went through hell. You notice that Drew McIntyre wasn't there, by the way. Keep that in mind. And you just have to, from the human perspective, understand that it's probably good for these men and women to not always be killing themselves out there. And whether this is on purpose or not, I do like, for the talent's perspective, them to get some, especially those that were on the card, to get a little bit of a rest and make it a little bit more of a promo heavy review video package type of show. You can have that every once in a while. But this match here with Gunther and Gunther and Sami Zayn delivered. And this match went 16 minutes and 40 seconds. Gunther beat Sami, as he should have. And some really fun moments here. The kick out of the power bomb, the kick out of the haluva kick, the second power bomb that Gunther delivered on Sami rendered a 1 count. The second one rendered a 1 count, and then Zayn hulked up. Interesting choice there. I have mixed feelings. I don't know how I feel about it. It's definitely different. I don't know the last time that I've seen the second finish of the match not be closer than the first one when it comes to the 3 count, but actually be, have less of an effect, even though you're deeper into the match. I don't know the last time I've seen that. So that was interesting from that perspective, but also you're diminishing the overall effectiveness of finishers as a category. And that's something I've spoken at length on this show. Just a general foundational issue with pro wrestling today is the overuse of finishes and the overuse of kickouts of finishes, not just in big matches, but in just kind of regular matches. Now, this was a big match, but you see kickouts of finishes even in matches that don't have a whole lot at stake. And I think it's just it's a problem because it diminishes what finishes used to mean. You're re-educating the audience to think, yeah, okay, he hit 1, but you're going to need 2 or 3. I shouldn't think that, but we do, because we've been conditioned to believe that. And now it's going to take 4 or 5 or 6. It's just like, well, how is this any more effective than any other move you do? So I'd like them to get back to just one finish ends the match. Now, not every match does that. There are plenty of matches on regular programming that do have one finish and that's it. But more often than not, how often do you see kickouts of finishes? Just absurd. I mean, Cody Rhodes When's the last time he won a match with one crossroads? He doesn't even trust his own finish because he delivers it 3 times in a row, which is, again, one of the worst looking finishes of all time. He delivers it 3 times in a row because he knows that my finish kind of sucks. I got to deliver this thing 3 times, you know? So, all right, how did I get on this? This match was really fun. Zayn and Gunther killed it. Zayn continues to show you how good he is, or at least remind you how good he is. Gunther, the same thing. These two, if they had a multi-month long program, I wouldn't cry about it. Now, they did have their run up to WrestleMania, which ended in the victory for Sami Zayn, capturing the Intercontinental title, ending Gunther's 666-day reign. And then, that's the story going into the world title. It's like, oh, okay, he's the one to beat Gunther for the IC. Why can't he beat him for the world title? And the answer is because Gunther is a whole league ahead of Sami Zayn right now. Not necessarily that he's a better wrestler. They're different wrestlers, different styles that mesh very well. But character-wise, presence-wise, much more intriguing for me. Gunther is much more intriguing than Sami. We all know what Sami is. We all know who he is. He is forever. And they tried for a while to not define him as an underdog. He will forever be an underdog. His body type screams underdog. The way he dresses screams underdog. His scruffiness, the everyman look, all of it. His presence is, and his overcompensating of screaming in every promo. It all points to, I'm an underdog. And I don't know if he's from the underground anymore. I don't know where he resides, but he's the underdog from wherever he wants to reside from. So it's not a bad place to be, but it never makes you the favorite ever. It's Sami Zayn, again, has had a hell of a career. I think he may have peaked in that match with Roman Reigns last year in Montreal when he competed for the Undisputed Championship, nearly won it. And that was a hell of a moment for Sami. We may look back, it's likely we look back as that, even though in a loss, that was the peak of his career. And I don't know if we'll ever have a world title run again. I don't know. I don't know if Sami Zayn will reach that point. I think, as I said at the open of this show, that we have Gunther being defined as a category above Sami Zayn. And Sami Zayn has been defined back down for a while to the upper mid card, where he will sit in lying in wait. Maybe he'll also disappear from Raw for several weeks, unless he competes at Crown Jewel. We'll see. Maybe he'll compete for the IC title. But if he doesn't, in some kind of multi-man match, then he's probably going to go into hiding until he's needed to return for the inevitable Bloodline versus Bloodline match, siding with Roman and a freshly united Jimmy, Jey, and Paul Heyman. So that's probably the next big thing for Sami Zayn, which will get a big reaction. And it'll be fun to see Sami Zayn back in that role. But this was very much a stamp on Sami Zayn's career currently that we have no plans to make him champion right now. And he's a hell of a piece of the puzzle for Monday Night Raw. He's a very fun babyface, when it comes to his music. He's likable to some degree. But it's just, he have his shortfalls? Yeah, he does. Just like everybody does. So that's my analysis, my psychoanalysis of Sami Zayn. But overall, fun match, good PLE quality main event, and I thought it was a good show. Didn't blow the doors off anything. Gave you teases for what's upcoming, specifically with Punk and Rollins. That is probably slated for WrestleMania 41. It should be, at least. They'll finally get to it. If Punk doesn't get injured again, keep him out of the Rumble maybe. And we have a fun season ahead of us. We just got to get through Crown Jewel. I mean, Crown Jewel is really where we got to get out of and get through that championship and all the pomp and circumstances going to come with it. And as I mentioned on my review show for Bad Blood the other day, I said, well, wait a minute. Presumably Gunther's going to win this thing. Does he carry it with him? Please don't. Please don't carry this championship with you like it's supposed to be on equal footing as the world title, or for that matter, my God, the undisputed title that Cody Rhodes is carrying around. It has no business there. I think it's all simply to appease the Saudi government, that they have their own championship. That essentially it's the Saudi Arabia championship, because it's only ever going to be defended in Saudi Arabia. What are you going to do? Carry it around for 11 months, defend it once a year? No, this title belongs right in the garbage, right in the trash. That's where it belongs. I don't want to hear, well, give it a chance. No, I mean, I don't care. You're creating it out of whole cloth, thin air, right? You're just saying, oh, the pay-per-view you guys hate, and there's a lot of controversy and blood money going around, and all this bad juju going around with the Saudi government and their treatment of women. Remember that? Well, what we're going to do, we're going to continue that. We're going to continue that PLE, but what we're going to also do is create a champion just for that particular PLE. We're going to create a championship off of that and call you the Crown Jewel Champion. Boy, that's enticing. Where do I sign? So, yeah, it belongs straight in a dumpster, right into the garbage truck, hit the crusher, bring it to the landfill, dump it out, and let it rot into infinity. That's where it should go. However, all that said, I did mention that I respect what Triple H is doing, because they're also trying to make this exhibition match feel important. What I would say is, why are we even doing this exhibition match? Why it doesn't need to happen. It shouldn't just be a part of the schedule. I mean, how much money is Saudi Arabia throwing at WWE for them to just create a championship for them, and also have these dream matches that oftentimes we thought we wanted to see but don't, and it's forced that both champions have to face each other? It's a throwaway event, because you can't really move ahead with the championship storylines on either program, on either show, SmackDown or Raw, because you have to force this, rivalry between Cody and Gunther. You have to kind of force tension there. That it's like, oh, you guys, look, you have this match here for the championship that doesn't matter on a PLE that's ultra controversial in a country that's ultra controversial, that does nothing but spew propaganda throughout the entire show with all this, how beautiful Saudi Arabia is and the progress they've made with women, which is a whole bunch of nonsense. All that. And we're going to force this rivalry between you two, like you have suddenly an issue with one another, and, just pretend you hate each other for a little while. I'm sorry. I have a problem with it. If you couldn't tell. So the good thing is, it'll all be over. It'll all be over in a month, and we can move on. And now you can't have either for the next 4 weeks, though. It does suck, because you can't progress anything on Raw or SmackDown with anybody that wants to compete for that championship, because both championships are frozen through Crown Jewel. Likely, neither will be defended until you get to Survivor Series, where Punk and Gunther, I think, are going to take on one another. Maybe it's Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes, or it could be The Rock. We'll see how much he's going to insert himself in here, or if he's going to say hello and I'll see you again in January. We'll see. But that's probably tentatively what it is. A heel Kevin Owens now versus Cody Rhodes at Survivor Series, and CM Punk versus Gunther for the world title on Raw. But you can't get to those. Again, we have to freeze in place for the next 4 weeks. Can't do anything. It's horrible. It sucks. And now we're supposed to just be all excited about Cody and Gunther. But what I was going to say before I cut myself off, I'm so rude to myself, is that you're going to get a great wrestling match from these two. That's the one thing that you can lean on here is, okay, forced tension between these two. For all the reasons I mentioned before, this is not interesting for a lot of people, or frustrating for a lot of people. But if you want to look at the one big positive is you got a great wrestling match on your hands. Really fun wrestling match on your hands. Physical. It's going to be just a wrestling. I think it could be a wrestling classic if they get 30 minutes, or not, I didn't say 30, but 23 minutes or so, they could really put on a hell of a match and maybe even compete for match of the year candidate. We'll see how far that goes, but that's the one positive here. So, all right, I'll pause there, stop there. I think I've said enough if I haven't pissed off enough people. And we'll continue on, let's see, tomorrow again with the NXT review. After Dark's coming, Mailbag's coming this week. SmackDown review, I got to get that straightened out. I thought I had somebody. I don't, so I'll get that straightened out with someone who wants to maybe... I'm chatting with a couple people right now, and we'll get that straightened out. So SmackDown will be covered until Amanda returns at the end of the month from the UK. So it'll be a bit of a different voices on the show, but I think that's good. Hear different voices, keeps things fresh. And what I may do too, you know the intro here at the beginning of the show that you hear on like hundreds of shows at this point? I've had that intro for 3 years now. I may just do away with an intro altogether or just get a new intro. I'm not sure yet, because I feel like that needs to be changed. It's been long enough. That intro is a little too long. Yeah, it's got Drew McIntyre in it, but I feel like that needs to be changed. The show needs a fresh feel. Oh, I think generally. So if you don't hear the jingle moving forward, it's because I decided we need to change, and maybe I'll pay somebody to come up with a new one, which is usually what I do. Just kind of, hey, here's $100, give me a jingle, we'll see. But that'll do it for me tonight, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back, as I said, on Friday for your mailbag, but in between, lots of shows to keep your ears happy. And you can go ad-free. If you heard all those ads throughout the show, you can get all those ads removed over at patreon.com/WWE podcast. Apple Podcast as well offers an ad-free experience because you just hit that subscribe button, but there's a free trial as well. Both Patreon and Apple Podcasts have a 7-day free trial if you want to try before you buy. I promise I'm not trying to be an infomercial salesman, but it literally is that. So if you want to check it out without any risk, great ways to do it. So I know many of you have joined us on since the Bad Blood event over on Apple and over at Patreons, and I really appreciate it. So thanks everybody for listening. I'll be back in a few days. Enjoy the rest of your week. And those of you in Florida, my God, please stay safe. This thing. Look, I'm up in upstate New York. What the hell do I know about hurricanes, right? But this just looks insane. From Tampa south, looks just horrible. And I used to visit down there somewhat regularly, at least yearly, and go to a lot of those bars on Clearwater Beach and go, spend a lot of time there, and taking a lot of vacations there, and had a lot of great memories over on some I remember, some I don't. Down in Tampa and Clearwater and Dunedin and all those areas that just are already reeling from Helene. And you look at some of the damage that's gone on down there from that, and all the destruction, and it's already going to take years to repair that, much less you bring in a storm surge that is going to be twice as bad. You're just going to get a blank slate. I mean, there's going to be nothing left, and it's horrible. So, maybe it won't happen, but it looks almost like a certainty that it will. So everyone down there, stay safe, and, just make good decisions, and that's it. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.